Hey, everybody, we are live with my longtime friend who is now the president of the IFL football champion, Bay Area Panthers. Scott, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Jenny. It's nice of you to say it. It's been a good ride. We're to say the least, we're euphoric about the victory.
You beat Sioux Falls 51-41. You
That
made
is
it through. You made it through the entire year without a head coach, or most of it.
Well, we went 6 weeks into the season, and then we had a change, and the two assistant coaches that we had, Rob Keefe and Dixie Wooten, are both former head coaches. They're extremely good at what they do, and they, rather than trying to go out and hire a new head coach or appoint somebody mid-season, it was better just to take guys that really know what they're doing, and the players followed them. But we had a great group of guys, and we recruited some really, really good athletes that were not only good athletically, but their character, their work ethic, their commitment to going out in the community and talking at schools and doing the things that, quite honestly, a smaller niche kind of sports product like we are, you have to do those things. You have to engage at the local level. I can't say enough. I sat in on many of the sessions when we negotiated their contracts and when we recruited them. These guys lived up to everything we could have ever asked for.
Let's talk about your great players. Of all the players, who would you say personally grew the most and really defined the organization leading up to the championship?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer, Zenny. I will say that when you have really solid veterans and guys who've played at the level that our quarterback, Dalton Sneed, plays at, and Justin Rankin's our running back, and Young Meadows and Stokes, these are the kinds of players that not only did they bring athletic talent and ability, but people followed them in the locker room. They went over and they managed the locker room. In really good sports teams, the coaches don't have to manage the locker room. The vets do it for you. And so we were blessed with a lot of really good athletes. They all worked together. Nobody's ego got out of control, which I think is really very, very critical. And things worked out just well for us. They believed in themselves. They believed when they came here that they could go from worst to first, which is exactly what happened. We went from 1-15 to 13-5, and we ran the table the second half of the season, and then blew our way through the playoffs with a lot of confidence and hard work. And it takes the ability to believe in yourself to do that.
And you have a great offensive coordinator and a great offense. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Dixie did a great job. Dalton Sneed, I don't think it's any hidden secret to anybody that follows football that, a lot of this really kind of starts with who's behind center, who's the quarterback, whether it's the NFL, the XFL, Major League College, or whatever. There's no greater place to start building and winning than being, on top at the quarterback position.
So sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, and Dalton was experienced. And ironically, he came from Sioux Falls, who we beat in the championship game. So,
So you actually lived it. I think about Bill Walsh's book, Building a Champion, and which I still have my bookshelf back in Oakland. And yeah. And I love that book so much. And the man, I had the pleasure of interviewing Coach Walsh back in '94, but I digress. What did you learn on the way to going from worst to first, building a champion, as it were?
I think the biggest thing is you have to take the disappointments of the past and, for the most part, put them behind you and just learn what is it that you can do better, accepting the fact that you were only 1-15. There's no need to get into denial. When you're 1-15, you're 1-15. There's things you didn't do very well, and you need to pick it up. And secondly is you have to accept the fact that you're probably going to have to make some serious changes on the player level. People don't grow from 1-15 to winning a championship with all of the same players they had before. There's a mix. We've got some that were on the roster. But, you have to have the courage and the wherewithal to say, okay, we're going to move on and we're going to make some changes at the major positions. And we're going to take what we learned and we're going to apply it on the field. And our guys did that. And Dixie and Rob were really good at no talking about what happened last year. Don't keep bringing up disappointment. We're moving forward, gentlemen. And it's that forward thinking that I think really carried us at the end. Because I think there were some people who said, some of our fans, maybe even some internally, that said, at some point, this ride's going to end.
They're just waiting for the shoe to drop. Yeah.
The players' view of this was, this is going to end all right. It's going to end in Las Vegas with us carrying the trophy home. Nice. And that's exactly what happened.
But it's that positive thinking, that can-do spirit, that attitude. How do you, going forward, maintain that? I'm going to ask this from a different way. What are we looking at in terms of keeping the roster intact now that you had this champion? I remember, Larry Bear from the Giants. He once told me that you have to keep a team intact for 4.7 years, a championship team, in order to realize repeat success. What do you think about that ideology as brought to IFL football?
In Larry's world, I couldn't agree more. And as you know, I came from the professional level prior to this, or major college. So I couldn't agree more. However, our league is a developmental league. Ours is a league where we are only permitted to have 7 veterans on the roster. We want change. We want to develop athletes. We want people to come in and use this as an ability to be able to prove and show themselves to others. So, you really don't have to spend a lot of time gearing people up every year at Zenny, because there's a lot of new people who are saying, this is my chance.
Yeah.
This is my day in the sun. I got to make it work. That and the coaches, I think, have done a wonderful job of, each year is a new year. I just wrote something to a couple of our coaches on another memo today that we were getting ready to do something on. And I just said, gentlemen, one of the things we should remember is, as of today, we are the current defending champions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which means that you've got to really keep attitude, spirit, the structure, that you have that lightning in a bottle. So basically you have to keep it there, right?
Oh, no question. No question. And our coaching staff is brilliant at that. If we can keep a core of a few of the leaders signed, unlike the NFL or the XFL or some of the others, all of our contracts with our players are 1 year. There is no such a thing as a long-term deal.
Holy turnover.
So this is kind of like college recruiting. Every year we have to sit down, and the coaches, and to a certain extent myself and Roy Choi, our majority owner, and say, okay, who are we going to keep? Who are we going to really work on trying to keep? We know we can't keep them all. There's somewhere, just because of the fact that we're over the veteran limit, we have to let them go. But there's going to be 3 or 4 guys where we're really going to have to recruit hard and try and get them to re-sign up, because effective, if we haven't signed them up, re-signed them by October 1st, they're free to go to any team in the league, which actually is kind of exciting in a way.
Yeah.
At first, I thought to myself when I got into this venture, I said, boy, I don't know. It seems to me, I come from a world where we built, like Steve Kerr and Joe Lacob have done. Let's build us a core and keep them together for a decade.
Right, because you build a system and they have to learn.
We think long-term in this league is a couple of 3 seasons. But when you're in the developmental phase of all this, I think it's healthy. It's what the business model's about. It's what the fans like on the excitement. And so, the whole story, though, is re-upping athletes.
Let's talk facilities? Because you've got a proposal out there. I have a
Yeah.
copy of it. You sent it to, I believe, Oakland, Stockton, San Jose, and if I'm not mistaken, Sacramento. Tell my viewers about it and what's the status?
Well, the reason for the RFP is that we are now 4 years old. We've played in two different places under very different and sometimes difficult circumstances, i.e., COVID, i.e., the uncertainty of the Oakland Coliseum and Arena's situation there. No fault on anybody other than, okay, they're going to either be in, they're not. Are the A's going to own it all? Are they going to develop it? It put us in a situation where we said, to guarantee a little bit more certainty, we ought to look elsewhere. And so, nothing against my good friends in Oakland, but we ended up getting a financially much better deal with a lot more certainty. Certainty was important to us. And we did it for 2 years. And now we're at a point where we're saying, okay, we've tried Oakland, we tried San Jose, we're settled in. We've now run an operation. Godspeed, we've won a championship. Now we want to take a look at, where is home? What's the future look like? We're past COVID. Last year when we played our first season here, if you recall, back in March of 22, you had to be vaccinated, you had to wear masks, the building all went 100% digital. So this last season was really the only real true quote unquote football season that we had without any interruptions in the way in which a fan experiences the game. So now we're saying, okay, where is the Panthers' long-term home? And that will come down to not only just venue agreements, Zenny, it will come down to what kind of local community sponsor support do we get? What do we think the potential for ticket sales is? And the whole notion of, is the community behind us? And so we've brought on Ben Shapiro and Pivot. And as you know, Ben's a very experienced executive in this, very capable, qualified company. They actually did some work for us, and they sold our presenting sponsor, Mary West Credit Union. So they know us well. Yeah. And I know Ben well. He's gotten to know majority owner Roy very, very well. And so our feeling was, okay, let's let these guys go out and do an RFP for us because they can give us all the benchmarks and metrics we need. What sponsorship look like? What does ticket sales look like? Is corporate America, is the community behind us? What does the competitive environment look like? The Bay Area is a great place, but in a niche public or a niche product like what we put out in a league, here's what you got. The Giants, the A's, the Warriors, the Niners, Stanford, Cal, the Earthquakes, and the Sharks.
Yep.
There's only so much money to go around.
That's right. That's right.
And so the whole impetus behind all this is, where do we think our permanent home will be? Okay. It could very likely be San Jose, right where we're at. But we'd like to know particularly what the view in Sacramento and Oakland might look like as compared, because they're both big markets. They're both big arenas. They're both strong ticket sales markets. They both have sponsorship. Sacramento has less competition. There's no question about that. But on the other hand, there's a much larger corporate base here. So we're going to know, they're going to run the RFP, and the decision will be made on or about the 25th, 26th of September.
Real quick, I got to ask you, how come the Chase Center's not on that list?
I just think that that's a building that, between all the dates with the Warriors and all the concert business they do, and we've kind of been an East Bay kind of organization going back to the beginning. I think it would be a bit too much of a leap and a change to jump over and play at the Chase.
So if you came back to Oakland, you'd change the name back to Oakland Panthers, of course, right?
I don't know. I'm sure that would be considered. we knew when we left Oakland and went to San Jose, we couldn't keep it as Oakland and play in the heart of San Jose.
Right,
So
right.
we got a more broad geographical one with Bay Area, similar to Golden State Warriors. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we could very easily be the Bay Area Panthers and be in Oakland. Now, might Roy feel like he'd like to change it back? And Marshawn, one of our other owners who's from Oakland,
Go Bears.
they might want to have a conversation about that. Quite honestly, that's, you're one of the first to bring that question up, actually. I just don't know. I would say right now it would be a conversation, but I would think that we'd probably be pretty happy with Bay Area Panthers.
I can't let you get out of here without asking you about two other subjects that are related in a way. The first one is the Athletics heading to Las Vegas. Your thoughts?
Well, it kind of breaks my heart in a way. As you know, when I first moved to town 27 years ago, I ran newspapers, and one of them was the publisher of the Oakland Tribune.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mayor Brown and I worked very closely on moving the corporate headquarters back into the famous Tribune Tower, and there was talk about a baseball stadium downtown. If you recall,
Yep.
the Tribune, and Andy Dolich and Stephen Kay and Bob Piccinini from Save Mart, we were all part of a group that we thought we might be able to buy it from Ken and Steve, and Bud Selig turned it down. Then they got rebuilt, and now to see them leave town, and I'm not going to get into who's right or wrong on this, other than to say that it's a shame that Oakland will have lost 3 really premier major league franchises in about a 5-year period of time.
Yeah. And now I got to ask you about the whole mess with the Pac-12, particularly from your place as being the commissioner of the A11 Offense League. So, and also,
that's another one. That's another one that I'm also really heartbroken about for a couple of reasons. One, as you know, I spent a stint as the CEO of the Rose Bowl game, and it's the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went to Wisconsin. I'm a Big Ten graduate, and so that really, I'm sorry to see it happen, but this is what's happening in major league sports. And particularly on the college side, when it comes to, there's only so much money to go around for broadcast rights. By the time the Pac-12 got into doing their media deal, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 had taken all the money off the table. Now, a lot can be said. Should the Pac-12 gotten in earlier? Hindsight's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But I just hate to see these schools just have to change allegiances simply because of a TV contract.
Let me ask you a question. If you were called to be the commissioner of the Pac-12, given what's going on, would you take that job?
No, I'm ready to quit working. I want to be a fan and go to the games and enjoy them. A couple of my stints when I was running the Rose Bowl, my alma mater, Wisconsin, came, and I couldn't have been a happier guy in the world. It's a tough job. George has a tough job at the Pac-12. Larry had a tough job. This is, to me, this is not a big indictment either way on commissioners. This is just, you have to understand at the end of the day, you've got institutions that are very, very committed to the academics, and the athletic is kind of not as high, so to speak.
Right.
And then you've got other schools that athletics takes a much higher priority in the way they think. And, not always do those two mesh. I wish they were still here. I have no idea where Stanford and Cal and Washington State and Oregon State are going to go. Probably going to end up being a merger or latching on with somebody else. I did hear that perhaps Stanford and Cal may end up migrating to the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
But just think, Zenny, we're not going to have a Rose Bowl that's a Pac-12 Big Ten game anymore.
Well, it doesn't. It's not right. And
And it's been there since Mr. Wrigley created the game.
hey, so talk me down from the ledge real quick. If I were a Pac-12 commissioner and this was going on, I file a lawsuit alleging collusion and monopolistic practices like that. Why am I wrong? Against the Big Ten.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but there is one who would say you're not wrong. They had a chance. Here's my view, and it's personal.
Yes, sir.
All these conferences had a chance. The Pac-12 could have gone out and expanded. If you remember, one of Larry Scott's first ventures was to try and get Texas and Oklahoma.
I do. I remember.
It didn't happen. It didn't work. The Big 12 lost Nebraska and Colorado. They immediately reacted and went and got West Virginia and brought TCU in. So, Zenny, everybody's had their chance at shuffling the cards in the deck. You know, I guess Pac-12 was just kind of Johnny come lately on this thing. And you reach a point where when you're so late, you can't save it. And that's kind of where they're at.
It's almost like Oakland and the A's.
Yeah, it's a very similar situation.
Oddly. So you're in a great place with I hope the Bay Area Panthers come back and become the Oakland Panthers. I think, and I've said this publicly, and I'll say it again, I think Henry Gardner made a gigantic mistake in letting you all go, that he can rectify. And I'm quite vocal about it. I'm going to continue to be vocal about it, because the Oakland Panthers ought to be in Oakland. You ought to be the Oakland Panthers in Oakland. That's my feeling.
And, you know, we're going to sit and talk to all the parties, and it is a wide open blank canvas. We just want people to understand that it's a blank. The conversations we had with Henry and the people at Oakland, that's in the past.
Yeah.
The conversations we've had and the things we've done in San Jose, we're happy there. But you know what? They're starting just like everybody else where we were when we started the process. Sacramento, they're coming in new. They're completely new on this thing for us, but they're going to get a shot at it too. Will it be the Golden One Center? Will it be one of the other places? Who knows? We'll find out and see what the RFP says. And Ben and his people at Pivot, I'm sure will turn every stone and every rock for us to find out what's the best place. And then we'll make a decision.
And then you'll come back here and tell us about it, right?
Zenny, I always come and talk to you. So anyway.
All right, boss. Hey, stick around in the background. I think I can let you go. Got a little time. Folks, thank you all very much for joining me. Later tonight, we'll talk about the NFL draft, since one of our own, Vinny Laspinoso, went to the NFL draft, NFL Hall of Fame in Canton. All right, subscribe to Zenny62, bookmark OaklandNewsNowBlog.com. That ends this broadcast. Scott, you don't have to move a muscle. I got you. All right. How was that?